So, there's this massive new law, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and it has just been signed. And let me tell you, it is already one of the most polarizing things we've seen in a long, long time. I mean, depending on who you ask, it's either the greatest thing for American families or an absolute disaster. So, what's actually in it? Okay, let's just start right here. How is it possible that one single law can be called the single most popular bill ever signed by former President Trump and at the same time get called a disgusting abomination by someone who used to be a close ally, Elon Musk? To figure that out, we've got to look past the crazy headlines and get into what this bill really does. All right, so to really wrap our heads around this thing, we're going to break it down into 5 key parts. First, we'll cover what the OBBA even is. Then we'll get into how it changes your taxes. After that, we'll see how it's reshaping social programs, look at where all the new money is going, and finally, we'll unpack why on earth it's so controversial. So, first things first, what exactly is the One Big Beautiful Bill Act? What's its main job? Okay, so at its absolute core, what this bill does is take the individual tax cuts from back in 2017, the ones that were all set to expire, and it makes them permanent. And that's a huge deal because it stops a tax hike that was coming for something like 62% of all taxpayers. That one move really sets the stage for everything else in the bill. All right, now let's talk about what this means for you. How does this law actually hit your wallet and affect your ability to save money? This chart here lays it out pretty clearly. First off, that standard deduction that was nearly doubled back in 2017, that's now permanent. It's not going away. The child tax credit also gets a boost, up to $2,200, and now it'll go up with inflation. And check this out. This is totally new. Even if you don't itemize your taxes, you can now deduct up to $1,000 for charitable donations. The bill also rolls out something brand new called Trump accounts. Think of them as special savings accounts for kids that have tax advantages. Anyone can put in up to $5,000 a year. And for kids born in a specific 4-year window, the federal government will actually kick in $1,000 just to get the account started. But here's the thing, this bill is way more than just taxes. It also makes some really fundamental changes to the nation's social safety net. Now, what's so fascinating about this slide is what it shows beyond just the debate over abortion. The bill bans Medicaid funding for any clinic that provides abortions, even if those abortions are paid for with private funds. This mostly hits Planned Parenthood, and as you can see, that one change has this huge ripple effect on a whole range of other health services for people on Medicaid. Things like contraceptives and STI screenings, we're talking about putting care at risk for over 1 million people. And wow, when it comes to student loans, this is a total shakeup. The bill gets rid of all 4 of the existing income-driven repayment plans, including that really popular SAVE plan. It replaces them with just 2 new options. And the main new plan, called WRAP, would make monthly payments go way up for a lot of people. I mean, we're talking an extra $2,929 a year out of the pocket of a typical college grad. That's a lot. And it doesn't stop with student loans. The bill also makes states charge new out-of-pocket fees for some people on Medicaid. And this is a big one. It allows doctors and hospitals to actually turn those patients away if they can't afford the new copay. It also messes with the rules for SNAP, which is the program millions of families count on for food. You add all this up, and we're talking about some seriously fundamental changes to the country's safety net. Okay, so on top of changing existing programs, the OBBCA also carves out billions and billions in new spending for some very specific priorities. First, there's a huge cash injection for defense. We're talking an extra $150 billion. And this chart breaks down where some of the biggest chunks are going. Almost $30 billion for shipbuilding, another $25 billion for a new missile defense system they're calling the Golden Dome, and $25 billion to restock munitions. Now, tucked away inside all of that spending is this number, $100 million. This money creates a special new fund for the White House's own budget office. Officially, the purpose is to find budget and accounting efficiencies. But critics jumped on this immediately, calling it a slush fund that could be used to push an agenda with almost no oversight from Congress. Okay, so we've got tax cuts, we've got safety net changes, we've got new spending, all crammed into one bill. Which brings us to the big question, why is this one law causing such a massive fight? This right here is the heart of the whole debate. Supporters say the OBBA is all about giving crucial, permanent tax relief to working families and making a messy system simpler. But critics? Well, they see something completely different. They argue that when you put those permanent tax cuts next to the big changes to social programs, what you get is the largest upward transfer of wealth in American history. Basically, they say it moves money from the poor to the rich and hurts the most vulnerable families in the process. And that critical view got so much traction that folks at major outlets like Fortune and CNN started calling it something pretty memorable: the reverse Robin Hood bill. But here's what makes this so fascinating. The opposition came from some really unexpected places. It wasn't just Democrats. You had Elon Musk blasting it as a huge spending bill. You had libertarian-leaning Republicans breaking with their own party to vote against it. And you even had 6 Republicans who did vote for it, writing a public letter saying they were deeply worried about how the bill's immigration enforcement funding could be used. When you step back and look at it, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is the classic example of one of these giant, everything but the kitchen sink laws. You've got tax cuts for families, new savings accounts for kids, deep and controversial cuts to social programs, and massive new defense spending, all bundled together. And it really leaves you with a tough question, right? When a single bill has so many complicated and competing parts, how are we, as citizens, supposed to weigh what we're gaining against what we might be losing?